Hey guys, I'm Amog. I'm a second year Masters in Computer Science student here at the University of Southern California. And in this video, I was planning on discussing about my journey to and at USC, right? Some topics I was planning on covering were how did my application look like when I was applying for the university? How was the academic life at USC like? For example, the course content, the exams, the professors, etc. What is the student life like here at USC? And finally, whether or not you should go ahead with USC for your master's in computer science, right? So, yeah, let's just get started. So, how did my profile look like for my application? So, I completed my bachelor's in computer science at Manipal University, Jaipur, with a CGPA of 9.06. Right, my GRE was around 319, and my TOEFL, I think I just lost 3 or 4 marks out of the total score. I don't remember the exact scores because for some reason the ETS, the company which is responsible for these exams, they decided to revoke my access to these scores, so I can't really confirm it for you. But I think that was essentially the benchmark of how my standardization tests look like, right? So besides the standardized tests, how do my internships look like? So during my second year, I worked remotely as a Python developer for a Brazilian civil engineering company. This was during the COVID lockdowns, right? And later, I worked as a research intern at IIT Hyderabad at a cellular networking lab, right? So I'm sure most of you are quite aware about the importance of research for your university application, because the competition amongst Indians is really hard, right? And research published in a very prestigious journal carry a lot of weight. So you should probably prioritize that. So I had that mindset. So I worked essentially for a year unpaid for the IIT Hyderabad lab. And sadly, I was unable to add any of my research work to my resume on the time of my USC application submission. But I was able to get those papers published after I got my acceptance letter. But sadly, I was unable to at that point of time due to internal deadlines, university deadlines. To put it mildly, I can't say much, anything more than that, right? So that was the scene regarding my research. So if you're planning on any university application, I would highly recommend that you have some sort of research at least submitted to a prestigious journal, right? Especially for if you're going for like a top 20 university, right? If you're going for a more public university like Penn State and others such with high acceptance rates universities, I don't think research matters that much, but you should keep that in mind, right? So yeah, that was in the context of research. What about my projects? I had my fair share of personal projects, but what I definitely regret was not specializing in a particular field like machine learning, computer vision, um, blockchain, something or the other. Like I didn't specialize in anything. I worked on one project to another project. Like I had one project in blockchain, I had one project in Internet of Things, I had one project on machine learning and computer vision. So you can see the pattern. Like I am a jack of all trades, right? So I didn't necessarily stick to one particular domain, and that's one thing I definitely regretted because I was unable to explain in my application as to why I want to research in that particular domain. But there was another pattern within all of my projects, which was healthcare, and that was what I capitalized on in my statement of purpose, right? So I pivoted in that direction and wrote about my interest in the healthcare domain and how I wanted to contribute to the remote healthcare sector, right? And this is true because I am technically working towards that field, right? So my recommendation would be that it would be a good idea to write a statement of purpose based on a field you would like to specialize in, right? And your history with it and why you're so passionate about with it. right? So this was how my overall profile looked like during my entire university application phase, right? And I had applied for 12 universities, and I got accepted at Penn State University first. I got waitlisted for NYU, Tandon, I think, and but that never worked out. So I was going to go ahead with Penn State University, and the funny thing was that literally 1 week before I submitted my visa documents at the American embassy, I got my acceptance for USC, but for the spring semester, and after consulting with my family and my mentors, I decided to go ahead with USC, and I rescinded my application from Penn State, right? So, what about the profile of other Indian USC students over here, right? So, well, most of the Indian US students over here have either worked for a year or two and are looking for a switch, or they are students who have just graduated and decided to go ahead with their masters. Most of them have a CGPA of above 9, but those who don't normally compensated with stellar projects and work experience. So you can keep that in mind. Don't get discouraged about it, right? But you definitely need to have some unique selling point as to why you deserve to get into USC's program, right? So that was essentially my application to USC in a nutshell. If you have any doubts or questions, feel free to drop a comment and I'll respond or make a short video about it. I don't know. But remember to subscribe. Cringe. Yeah. But yeah. So, what is the academic life here at USC? Now, honestly, it's tough. Coming from Manipal, I can genuinely say that the quality and scope of education here is far richer and more challenging than at my previous university, and this caused me to stumble really hard during my first semester. But this also depends on your academic background. For example, some of my classmates from IIT, they didn't have much trouble adapting, so it really varies from person to person. Either ways, you have to keep an open mind and think practically. You need to maintain a CGPA of the CGPA of about 3 out of 4 to graduate. So the courses I have taken so far are CSCI 570, which is the analysis of algorithms. This is a compulsory course as of 2025. Like every master's in computer science student has to take this course. And it was incredibly tough for me, but I genuinely enjoyed learning it, especially under my Professor Shamshian. Did I score in it? Absolutely not. But the professor was genuinely really good, right? So back in India, I mostly self-studied algorithms since I never really understood what my professor back then was trying to teach me, and I kind of excelled in it because I had an A plus in that subject. But under Professor Shamshian, I genuinely understand what was happening every class, and I enjoyed learning. But the exams are very application based and incredibly tough, right? For me, personally, for me, and I genuinely thought that this was going to be the first time in my academic career that I was ever going to flunk a subject, right? I genuinely thought I was going to fail. Analysis of algorithms, right? Luckily, I passed, but that's it. I just passed. Okay, and if anyone else is got accepted to USC and are planning to go ahead with it, I'm telling you now, start grinding your lead code now. You need it. All right, it is pretty tough. Start practicing dynamic programming, and just look up all the repeated questions on GitHub, right? So it will help you out. Yeah. So and that was my first semester, and along with algorithms, because it was such a heavy subject, I decided to play it smart and I took CSCI 585, which is database systems. Now, it is an incredibly easy subject, and it's incredibly controversial since you don't necessarily learn anything new from the subject. But this Professor Sati, he's very passionate about computer science, and he always spends the first 1 hour of the class talking about the latest developments in AI and computer science. and how it is going to affect you in your career as a CS engineer, right? So I like sometimes he gets pretty discouraging in this context that he's like, folks, he just literally tells us in the first 1 hour that guys, AI is developing so fast, database doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why you guys are learning about it, but there is potential for AI to replace all of you over here. So I feel very sad about your careers, and this is a direct quote, not direct, but I have changed some terms, but essentially this is what the message he was trying to convey to us. But he's overall a fun professor, right? But this was a very scoring subject, and I was able to compensate my poor performance in algorithms with this subject, and I got an A plus, and I just like managed to get the 3.0 GPA, CGPA requirement, right? In my second semester, I took natural language processing. I thoroughly enjoyed this course, and I'm not sure if the professor, I think it was Professor Swayam Dipta, I think, right, is going to continue teaching at USC. But I got to learn a lot about large language models, and by the end of the course, me and my team, we built an agent where we would recommend whether or not you should invest in a particular stock based on the Twitter sentiment, newspaper headlines, and the past stock market history data, right? I enjoyed it. It was fun, right? And along with that course, in my second semester, I took machine learning for data science. It was a fun subject, but it was very hectic. Every week you have a new assignment, and the scope of the assignment is quite heavy, right? And the professor has a unique sense of humor, but he's very knowledgeable, right? And I would highly recommend this course if you're new to the subject or if you just want a quick refresher, right? So the courses I have taken this semester is multimedia systems and information retrieval, and so far I'm pretty satisfied with the quality of the courses. Yeah. Now, what about the quality of the professors? Honestly, it varies. I recommend talking to previous students and checking out Reddit and rate my professors before registering for their classes. That way you can decide if a specific professor is a good fit for you. Personally, I rather take a professor who I can understand, even if the subject is less interesting, than a brand new subject with a professor I don't vibe with. Otherwise, I would end up self-studying most of the time, and usually the grading in such courses is going to be tougher as well, right? But overall, I enjoyed studying under most of my professors. Yeah. Now, a quick warning, just in case, for any data science students watching this video. If you're considering a data science program here at USC, do a little more research about it, because I have consistently heard from my data science classmates that they're not happy with the program and they would rather take UCLA's program. So just check that. The computer science, I think our USC's computer science program is pretty well reputed. So I personally don't have an issue with our computer science program, but data science is a common complaint I've heard from my classmates. Yeah. So what is student life like here at LA? Student life is pretty fun, right? So LA is an incredibly diverse and lively city to explore, and there are like tons of cultural hotspots like Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Koreatown, what else? Thai Town, and so on. And we also have downtown LA, which genuinely, every time you step into that area, feels like you're walking into a GTA 5 lobby. Personally, I find it very entertaining. I got so many insane stories every time I go there, and I would be more than happy to share it with you right now, but it's just that I want to make this video brief. But it's crazy. I love that place, right? And at USC, you might even spot A-list movie actors and directors visiting the campus every now and then. Because if you did not know, USC is a very well-known film school, right? And as a result, every now and then there are awards being hosted over here, or there are guest speakers, and oftentimes you can get to meet or at least see these A-list celebrities, right? I had the opportunity to be an extra at a short film which was being filmed at our university about the director of the Viterbi department. So like you can see the USC Viterbi, right? So it was a short film about that, about the founding father of the Viterbi department of our university. So I'll probably like show a screenshot of it. But that was a fun experience. So also like as a result, right, you can see that there are a ton of student hosted events you can join, and a lot of student sporting events you can see as well. You can just check that on the Engage SC app. You'll probably be briefed about it during your orientation, right? So you should be able to see most of these events for free because you're paying for it literally in the form of the fees. My fees is like right now is around 23K per semester, which is a lot. I don't have financial aid, right? So it's just saying, if you're interested in financial aid, you should look into submitting your university application early. That I've heard has a higher chance of getting access to financial aid, but you also need to have very high academic records for it. So just keep that in mind. Getting back to the topic, there are a lot of stuff to do here at the campus as well. Also, the university provides the students with Metro Pass, a tap card, which looks something like this, right? This LA tap card. And using this, you get access to both your Los Angeles metro system and the bus system, right? Now, the most of the busiest and touristy points of LA are public transport accessible. Only issue is that it takes a lot of time, right? For example, a journey which would take normally 20 minutes by car would take 1.5 hours because you'll have to jump from one bus to another or a metro, and it can get late and so on. But it's better than nothing, right? So that is definitely an advantage for you. Okay. So the important places near USC which I frequent, right? So Ralph's is where I do most of my grocery shopping, which you can see over here, I think. So don't forget to be a free member. You'll get a lot of discount, and once every 2 months they'll send you a mail full of vouchers which will give you like a lot of great deals, and I always use it, right? Then the other part is the USC Village, which is essentially like the shopping square of the university, like right outside the campus. Now, there is Trader Joe's over there, which is like another supermarket of sorts, but a bit pricier, but it has much better quality as well. That's where I often get my microwavable meals, right? Which is godsend during exam time, right? So that is one place at the USC Village area, Trader Joe's. There's also Target at the USC Village, where you can get most of your essentials, right? Like pants, bed sheets, blankets, so on and so forth. A lot of your university essentials you can get it from Target. So that is also there, right? Another place you'll need to know when you're coming over here is Chase Bank. So once you land in America, you'll need to open a bank account immediately, so you can store all your Forex card money into some local bank, so you can get access to a debit card and stuff like that. So Chase Bank is available, is pretty close to the university. You don't need any specialized documents like social security number. You just need your passport, your visa documents, your lease and stuff like that. Just look into the actual documentation. Don't forget to book an appointment for it, because once the semester starts opening up, right, it gets really crowded because of the number of students trying to open up their bank accounts. So don't forget to book an appointment before you visit the Chase Bank, right? Now, this is another place which is also pretty important, which is for an Indian student in my context, which is the Manas restaurant. Now, honestly speaking, Trader Joe's frozen Indian food is better in price and personally in taste, according to me. I don't really work with Manas Indian restaurants flavoring, right? But if you're in need of like Indian groceries like dal, spices, ready like chicken masala and all that stuff, right? All the Indian stuff which you need, like frozen paratha, and the ready-made roti atta essentially. All of that is available at Manas, and you can purchase there. It is pricier though, but it is an import store. So you can look into that, right? So essentially, the more I think these are the four places which I visit the most within the university campus. That is the Ralph's grocery store, Target, Trader Joe's, and Target, which is at the USC Village, and Chase Bank to get my monthly rent. And fourth one is finally Manas restaurant, which is also a supermarket slash. And now, speaking of safety, what about safety? Now, I mean, LA can get pretty scary, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, the university tries to help with the security of the student. For example, they have a patrol zone. I think I'm pasting it here, right? Where they have like private security who apparently keeps a lookout for any crime. Are they any effective? I don't know. But for the most part, we get warnings on our email and phone number about any robberies or assaults or any police activity happening within our region. And I guess that is useful, right? An additional benefit for the university is that the university provides free Lyft rides. So Lyft is essentially Uber, but it's like you share the cab, right? So it's technically cheaper, right? In Los Angeles, Lyft is pretty popular. It's one of the most popular forms of transportation over here, ride sharing apps over here. So the university provides free Lyft rides for all students who want to travel within that patrol zone. But the service is only available from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning, right? So don't forget to apply for it, since it's incredibly useful if you want to do like late night grocery shopping, or if you want to hang out with your friends late at night. I've heard from my female friends that every now and then there will be some weird dudes who'll try to stop them, and so for them these Lyft rides are like essentially godsend. So don't travel alone is my recommendation near the university campus or in general in LA. Or if you are going to travel alone, keep a lookout, right? Be aware of your surroundings, do not wear noise cancelling headphones, and don't make yourself look vulnerable. It's essentially what I'm trying to say, right? You also, besides Lyft for late night transportation, you can always use a metro pass to use a bus or just the metro, right? I personally travel by cycle, and for the most part, it is all right. I've had my share of scary experiences. For example, a crackhead jumped at me when I was traveling on the metro, right? But he didn't attack me, but he jumped at me because he was still high, right? And then there was another incident where somebody stole the front wheel of my cycle when I was returning from class, and the university security didn't do jack shit about it. They're like, yeah man, like it is probably some dude who got out of prison and needs a quick buck, so he probably stole your wheel. Like at this point, let's steal the entire bike, right? But yeah, he just stole the front wheel of my cycle, right? And there are other sorts of short, scary incidents, but for the most part, right, I was never physically injured, or I was not threatened. Is what essentially what I'm saying. I mean, I kind of got threatened, but I was never physically injured so far. Touch wood, right? So I wouldn't say LA is safe by any means. So you should keep a lookout when you're walking around. Yeah. It is pretty expensive. My single room, which is right at the border of the security zone, it costs quite a lot. For my single room, I pay around $825, but I'm aware that most single rooms in LA cost $1,000 and above, right? So I consider myself pretty lucky, but the size is pretty small, right? If you're willing to share your room, the range of rent will be around $600 to $900, right? And one of the most popular locations of residency for Indian students is Lorenzo, which is like a private residency where the rent is pretty high, but the students share the apartment, and the amenities they provide is pretty good. So in the sense that they provide shuttles from the apartment directly to the university. There are also like private study rooms, gym, recreational activities, and events. I don't know. I only visited that place like a couple of times, 2 to 3 times, and not I didn't spend too much time there either, right? So from what when I'm talking to my friends, they are like, yeah, it's all right. Like they are using the benefits which are being provided, and yeah, and in their context, their rents also vary from 600 to 900, depends on the number of rooms they are sharing and which type of apartment they are renting out. Yeah, so that is how rent is like. Now, what about my overall living expenses? So, like personally, my rent is $825 for this room, and my food and electricity and everything, all of that considered, including the rent, will be around 1000 $1,100. It varies, depends on like what how that how the scene is like for that particular month. If it's the exam season, I'm mostly eating microwavable food from Trader Joe's, so that hikes up the prices a bit. But when it's on a like a low season, I just make pasta with pasta sauce and just make rice and puligari. So like basic stuff, right? Now, the important question: what about on-campus jobs, right? Everyone wants an on-campus job since the cost of living over here is pretty expensive. Now, and having an on-campus job can definitely offset uh, a lot of things over here. And a popular sentiment at least when I was doing research of USC, was that if you should just apply for the on-campus jobs at the website or cold email professors. And personally, and from what I'm observing and what I experienced, the easiest way to get an on-campus job is networking, right? I have a friend of mine who just went to the gym and he befriended some gym partner over there, and they had like some great bonding time. And after like couple of months, his gym partner was like, hey, I'm working at this particular lab, would you be interested in working along with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. And just through networking, he was directly able to bypass the entire cold mailing system and was able to work at a lab, right? And similarly, apparently Gujaratis have a monopoly of the librarian jobs. I cannot verify that because I have not talked to any Gujarati students over here, so don't come at me. This is what I've heard, right? So just network with your fellow students, right? Don't be desperate about it. Have a solid connection with them, and then try to apply for the job. No, I'm not saying that cold mailing doesn't work, because there was also another friend of mine. He essentially cold mailed a couple of professors with his resume, and one of them reverted back to him. But essentially, the condition was that he wanted to see him work and the amount of dedication he was going to put into the project. And if he shows good results, then he would hire him as full-time worker for his lab, right? So my friend essentially worked at his lab and his project without any pay for an entire semester. And the next month, the professor, I think when he got his budget, he was able to fund the student essentially. Was able to provide him with this payment, right? So cold mailing works, but I think the easiest way would be networking. In my context, I have been incredibly lucky. My roommate had finally graduated, and his girlfriend was moving out. And at that point, right, I was just chopping onions one day, and then his girlfriend just entered the kitchen. I was like, hey, Amok, do you want a job? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I just got a job that day. She just forward because since she was already graduating, she was exiting a job, so she just provided my recommendation to the professor. And the professor like, yeah, I can take this guy. And I am essentially now a learning assistant, which is essentially a teaching assistant, but without the high pay and without the union benefits, because the teaching assistant job is apparently unionized at the University of Southern California. So I don't have the union benefits of it, but hey, I am not complaining. I enjoy the job. It's a great job, a lot of benefits, very flexible. I'm happy with it, so I'm not complaining, right? So definitely network with other students, right? Network with professors, and cold mail. is what this is what I'm suggesting, right? Now, mm, so should you go ahead with your masters in computer science here at USC, right? So USC is a great private university. There are always more new and exciting opportunities for you to explore and pivot your career towards, right? And there are like a diverse range of courses for you to study, right? So I would highly recommend that you check out the classes at USC website and see the courses which are available during the fall and spring semesters, and then plan out your curriculum and see if that suits your future aspirations, right? But you should also understand that USC is also incredibly expensive in an incredibly expensive city, right? But I also think that you will get the most out of it if pursuing a master's degree is genuinely in your best interest. And and here is my honest take, right? I recommend pursuing your masters after working in the industry for a year or two, right? Unless you're like genuinely passionate about computer science and nothing else interests you, like doing an MBA or data science or engineering management or something like that, right? I'm saying this because the job market right now, as of 2025, is incredibly tough right now, considering the entire AI revolution, the American political situation. If you're not amongst the top candidates, you might face challenges, right? But that does not mean you won't succeed. It's just that I'm trying to say that a master's degree at USC will not give you a job in a silver platter. You will need to struggle a lot for it, right? Um, but by the end of the day, the call is yours. I'm like, if you got into USC, I'm sure you're incredibly smart enough already, right? So I'm sure you can make the best judgment if whether or not you want to go ahead and pursue your masters here at the university, right? So yeah, that is pretty much my journey at USC, right? If there are any questions, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section, and I'll try to respond to it or just make a follow-up video about it, right? And don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make another video talking about USC because I'm not an educational kind of guy, but this video is more of supposed to be like the kind of video I would like to have watched when I was applying for my university applications, and also a kind of checkpoint for me to see where I'm going to be headed towards, right? But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.